directly from heaven, and you spend the rest of your life convincing yourself and others that you're right and everybody else is wrong. Have you seen people like that around in churches? There are quite a few of those. God is inviting us to stop and evaluate our motives, our actions, and what we believe as well. We must evaluate those things. And entering into the new year, it's a good time to stop and reflect and evaluate our lives. Now, when the nation of Israel found themselves in this conundrum, God sent prophet Haggai to them. So let's go back to Haggai chapter 1, we'll start in verse 1 and go to verse 6. So this is where God sends the prophet to deliver a message to the people of Israel. And God says here, in the second year of King Darius, in the 6th month of the first day of the month, the word of the Lord came by Haggai the prophet to Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and to Joshua the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, saying, verse 2, Thus speaks the Lord of hosts, saying, This people says, the time has not come, the time that the Lord's house should be built. Then the word of the Lord came by Haggai the prophet, saying, It is time for you yourselves to dwell in your panel houses, and this temple to lie in ruins. Now therefore, thus says the Lord of hosts, consider your what? Your ways. You have sown much and bring in little. You eat, but do not have enough. You drink, but you are not filled with drink. You clothe yourselves, but no one is warm. And he who earns wages to put into a bag with holes. What a situation. What a situation. So God is sending Haggai with one specific message, and his message is the title of my sermon today. The message is what? Consider your ways. Stop and reflect on what you're doing. Think about things. Consider all the things that you're doing and see where things are wrong and make some changes. Now, in this passage, God is pointing out through prophet Haggai 3 areas of concern for the children of Israel. And those are areas of concern for us as well. And as we enter the new year, I want you to think about these 3 areas. If you find yourself in one of those, you need to consider your ways, all right? So this morning, I want you to consider your ways. Number one situation, number one area of concern that God is presenting here is found in verse 2. And verse 2 says there, Thus speak the Lord of hosts, saying, the people says, the time has not come, the time that the Lord's house should be built. At this point in their experience, the nation of Israel found themselves in a state of apathy. Number one, state of apathy. You guys know what apathy is? Apathy, the dictionary defines it as having a lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern. Unenthusiastic, unconcerned. You know, our teenagers are apathetic towards everything. Pretty much. I said it because I was there too. What do you want to do? I don't know. How was your day? I don't know. Do you want anything? I don't know. Apathy, unconcerned, we can say don't really care about much at that point in their life. But this is what the nation of Israel was, apathetic, all right? Here we see that there is a lack of concern for God's house. God is saying that you're building your own houses, and is it not time for you to build the Lord's house? You have lost that enthusiasm for God's house. You have become unconcerned for God's house. Because of the opposition the nation of Israel faced for many years when they came back and then they tried to rebuild God's house, the people responded that maybe God didn't want us to rebuild his house. Maybe it's not the right time. That's what they're saying here. They thought that maybe the time was not right for them. Maybe God changed his mind. Maybe he wants us to take a break. Maybe he doesn't want us to rebuild the temple. The children of Israel became satisfied with what they had, and they fell short of what God wanted for them. They grew complacent. They grew apathetic. Does it seem familiar to you, the situation? The church today, maybe, or us in our spiritual experience? They thought things were fine the way they were, so they just quit and stopped building the temple. And absolutely nothing happened with the temple for 16 long years. We are no different today. Today in the church, there is lack of concern for the church in general or for spiritual things. There is a lack of concern for church attendance in many, many churches. There is a lack of concern for spiritual growth in many members. We are not concerned with that. There is the lack of enthusiasm for God and the church. There is nothing worse than seeing unenthusiastic Christians. What kind of witness are we to the people when we are so unenthusiastic about our own faith? Do you know the origins of the word enthusiasm? It actually comes from a Greek word. And it's beautiful because the word, it comes from two Greek words. It's a compound word, all right? En means in, and theos means God. So enthusiasm originally meant having God within us. That's how you become enthusiastic about things. You have theos in you. You have God in you. You are passionate about things. Passionate about God. Passionate about religion, spiritual things. Of course, over time, enthusiasm came to mean just strong excitement of feelings. Today, we're more likely to use this word to describe our feelings about a favorite athletic team or hobby than to describe what God is doing in us and through us. A lot of people get enthusiastic about their favorite football team or hockey team. Many Christians have more enthusiasm today for the shows they watch than for the spiritual things. You can ask those guys and they will tell you everything that happens in their favorite show, like this. And they can go seasons back, and tell you everything that happened. But ask them something about God and what they're doing in the community, there's not going to be much answer there. So what are you enthusiastic about? What are you enthusiastic about? It is very unfortunate to see a lot of unenthusiastic Christians about their faith and about the community reaching out and preaching the gospel. Sometimes we mistake the enthusiasm for fanatism, but it's not. Being enthusiastic about God is completely different. Now, there's a story about a preacher in a small town in Texas. He came on a Sunday morning. This is a Sunday keeping church. On a Sunday morning before he went to church, he stopped at a local donut shop and he opened his Bible and went over his sermon notes. A man was sitting right next to him and he saw the Bible and he told him, he said, "You're a preacher or something, right?" And the preacher replied, "Yes, I preached at this Christian church right here in town." The man got excited about it and he said, "Oh, I am a member of that church." So the church was very small and the preacher knew everybody in the church. And he said, "Listen, I've been preaching there for about 3 or 4 months now, but I've never seen you in church." The man looked at the preacher very strangely and said, "I said I was a member of that church. I never said that I was fanatical about it." There's a lot of people, a lot of members that think the same way. There are many members today that lack commitment. While many Christians are still going to church, committed members are few and far between. Commitment is different, just church attendance. Apathy is ruling the day today. Apathetic Christians, unenthusiastic Christians. Someone said that all of the world's problems could be summed up in 2 simple words: ignorance and apathy. Ignorance and apathy. All the world's problems and all the church's problems are summed up in those 2 words as well. So in Haggai chapter 1, we have a warning for the church today. Haggai is telling us today, not just to the Jews then, but today, he's telling us as well that apathy is destroying the church. I hope you can rediscover or discover for the first time your enthusiasm and passion for God and church. I hope that in 2025 you can rediscover that passion. You know, like the church in Ephesus, you know what God says, you have lost your first love. That's that first passion, that's enthusiasm for God. And most of us are finding ourselves in the same shoes. We have lost our first love. We have lost our enthusiasm. Ellen White says in Testimonies for the Church, Volume 9, page 42, very strong statement. Listen to this, church. It is a mystery that there are not hundreds at work where now there is but one. And why is that? This is what she says. The heavenly universe is astonished at the apathy, the coldness, the listlessness of those who profess to be sons and daughters of God. Even God himself is astonished at our apathy and coldness towards God and religion. She continues, she says this. Listen to this. In the truth, there is a living power. Go forth in faith and proclaim the truth. And listen.